For decades, Western institutions like the G7, NATO, and the EU shaped the global order. But now, the tectonic plates of geopolitics are shifting. BRICS, once just an acronym, is rising as a new constellation of power. It now represents a major share of the world's population and economy. Even Europe is taking notice, seeking new opportunities. The old maps are being redrawn, and no one wants to be left off the new one. BRIC was coined in 2001 by Goldman Sachs to describe Brazil, Russia, India, and China, emerging markets with huge potential. It began as an economic grouping, not a political alliance. The first BRIC summit in 2009 marked its shift to a geopolitical bloc. In 2010, South Africa joined, making it BRICS and adding an African dimension. The group's mission: advocate for a multipolar world and reform Western-dominated institutions like the IMF and World Bank. BRICS created the new development bank in 2014, headquartered in Shanghai, as an alternative to the World Bank. The NDB funds infrastructure and development projects, aiming to reduce dependence on the US dollar. In August 2023, BRICS announced its largest expansion, inviting Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Though Argentina later declined, the expansion was historic. As of January 2024, BRICS Plus includes major energy producers and populous nations, increasing its global weight. The bloc now represents a formidable entity on the world stage. Its growth and inclusivity have made it impossible for other nations, including some in Europe, to ignore. BRICS is no longer just an acronym, it's a force reshaping global power. The world is watching as its influence grows. The expanded BRICS bloc wields staggering economic power. Before 2024, the original 5 members accounted for over 41% of the world's population and about 26% of global GDP. With new members like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, BRICS now represents about 46% of the global population. Measured by purchasing power parity, BRICS Plus now exceeds the G7's share of the world economy. Growth forecasts for BRICS members consistently outpace those for Europe and North America. The bloc now holds a dominant position in global energy markets, controlling over 40% of global oil production. For energy importing Europe, building stable ties with BRICS is a strategic necessity. The new development bank offers billions in loans, often with fewer conditions than Western institutions. There's growing momentum to trade in local currencies, reducing dependence on the US dollar. For countries seeking economic sovereignty, BRICS is an increasingly attractive partner. No EU country has been more vocal about looking east than Hungary. Under Prime Minister Viktor Orban, Hungary's Eastern opening policy aims to deepen ties with Russia, China, and other BRICS members. Budapest sees this as a way to diversify its economy and foreign relations, moving away from what it views as rigid Western policies. Chinese investment is transforming Hungary into a hub for Europe's electric vehicle industry. For Hungary, engaging with BRICS is pragmatic economics. Orban's government also champions national sovereignty and non-interference, values echoed by BRICS. Hungary was the first EU member to join China's Belt and Road Initiative and has often opposed EU sanctions on Russia and China. While not formally applying to BRICS, Hungary's officials openly discuss partnership possibilities. This stance creates tension within the EU, seen by some as undermining unity, by others as pragmatic experimentation. Hungary's approach is a closely watched test case. It's a bridge, or perhaps a Trojan horse, between the EU and BRICS. The outcome could influence how other EU states approach the bloc. Hungary's Eastern Gambit is a bold experiment in a changing world. France, under President Macron, offers a more nuanced approach than Hungary. Paris isn't seeking to break from the West, but to achieve strategic autonomy, Europe acting independently on the world stage. Engaging with BRICS is about creating a European third way in a multipolar world. Macron's 2023 request to attend the BRICS summit, though denied, signaled France's interest in direct engagement. French officials see this as a chance for dialogue and to prevent global fragmentation. Economically, French companies have major investments across BRICS nations. As economic gravity shifts east, access to these markets is vital for France. France's approach is pragmatic, prioritizing business interests over rigid alliances. However, this pursuit of autonomy is viewed with suspicion by some Western allies and skepticism by BRICS members. Can France be an honest broker, or is it advancing its own interests? Macron's strategy is a high-wire act, balancing between alliances and new opportunities. France aims to be a bridge, not a break, in the evolving global order. Its success or failure will shape Europe's future role. Turkey's relationship with the West is complex, but its interest in BRICS is growing. As a NATO member and EU candidate, Turkey has long been anchored in the West, but stalled EU accession has led Ankara to seek alternatives. In 2024, Turkey's foreign minister confirmed interest in BRICS, attending a high-level meeting with the bloc. Facing economic crises, Turkey sees BRICS as a source of investment and energy security. BRICS membership could boost Turkey's diplomatic clout as a bridge between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. But a move toward BRICS could trigger a crisis within NATO. The world is watching Ankara's next move. Europe's growing interest in BRICS is driven by powerful economic, political, and strategic forces. Europe faces low growth, an aging population, and costly energy transitions, while BRICS nations are centers of economic vitality. For European businesses, access to these markets is essential for survival. Politically, there's a push for greater autonomy after events like the Trump presidency and US withdrawal from Afghanistan. Engaging with BRICS is a way to diversify partnerships and demonstrate independence. The war in Ukraine has exposed Europe's vulnerabilities and the limits of Western influence. Many BRICS members have maintained ties with Russia, highlighting a new global reality. Europe now sees engagement with BRICS as crucial for resolving conflicts and managing economic fallout. There's also a defensive motive. As BRICS builds its own institutions, Europe risks being sidelined from new global rules. Some leaders believe it's better to be in the room than outside looking in. Engagement is a strategy to influence the bloc's direction and protect European interests. Europe is hedging its bets in an uncertain future. The EU's official stance toward BRICS is one of caution and calculated engagement. Brussels doesn't see BRICS as a monolithic adversary, but as a diverse group with competing interests. The EU prefers bilateral engagement with key BRICS members like India and Brazil. Brussels is wary of legitimizing BRICS as a formal counterweight to Western institutions. The EU's liberal democratic values clash with BRICS's emphasis on sovereignty and non-interference. There's concern that Hungary or Turkey could use BRICS ties to undermine EU cohesion. Still, the EU recognizes BRICS's economic and geopolitical weight, especially on global issues like climate change and development. The EU pursues principled pragmatism, cooperating where interests align, pushing back where they diverge. Brussels is strengthening its own partnerships and infrastructure initiatives to compete globally. The EU is determined to engage with BRICS on its own terms, from a position of unity. The rise of BRICS is now actively shaping Europe's strategic calculations. From Hungary's eastern opening to France's quest for autonomy and Turkey's pivot, Europe is recalibrating. This is a gradual evolution, not a sudden revolution, as global power shifts away from the West. Economic pull, diplomatic diversification, and the need for a voice in new institutions are driving this change. But the path is fraught with challenges. EU unity, NATO commitments, and value conflicts are all at stake. The West must decide how to engage a powerful bloc that doesn't share all its values but is essential for solving global problems. Will Europe become a flexible, multi-aligned balancing power, or will it sow division and weaken its influence? The answer will define Europe's relationship with the non-Western world and the future of the international order. Europe stands at a fork in the road. The path it chooses will have consequences for us all.